So, and at times, the vast majority of occasions and the vast majority of participants at this kind of prayer meeting would be perfectly happy with this. But some people would get up and say, no, we won't allow you to have the Quran. It was in the name of the Quran that many of our relatives were killed. We won't let you have this recitation. So he would say to everybody else, well, these people don't want it. What do you want? They would say, we don't mind. So he would say to the others, well, everybody else doesn't seem to mind. Why don't you withdraw your objection? And in most cases, they would withdraw. Sometimes they would not withdraw. And when they did not withdraw, Gandhi's response was, all right, in this case, I will not have the other readings either. As it happened, the first was a Buddhist thing, the second was the Quran, and the Hindu bits came later. And so he would proceed straight away to his discourse, his pronouncements on whatever was happening. I was often seated with him, very close to him, facing several hundred, sometimes more than several 100,000 plus. And I would say to myself, if I saw these angry people, what should I do? What would I be able to do if somebody were to come and attack this old man who didn't have any security people, guards, anything like that? And the fact that he was not afraid of these people, and he was talking in a reasonable, or you might say friendly manner to those who were attacking him, made me feel that this was a very special kind of guy. So this is when I was 11, 12, I could feel this, you might say, unusualness to him. And then, of course, when he was killed, that day I was not there. There was some athletic event in school that I was taking part in. And I saw the grief, the love of the people. I realized that, there was this tremendous thing about him that people felt.
What was your greatest personal discovery about Gandhi when you wrote the book?
Yes, I think my greatest, there are lots of very valuable, precious, little discoveries about him. For instance, I think this is perhaps true, the first time that it has been stated and you might say demonstrated that the 1857 revolt in India, which is a very major historical event, had a very large role to play in formulating Gandhi's thinking. Some other historical questions like that were resolved, why Gandhi did what he did, so forth. But I would say on a broader canvas, I was able to understand the human being. Why he did some things, why he did not do some things. Psychological questions. Was he primarily a politician? Was he primarily a spiritual seeker? It's a tremendous question that people ask. So I discovered, in a way that satisfied me, I don't know whether it will satisfy every reader, that he was above all Gandhi, who was a terrific politician and a terrific spiritual seeker. And why should we want him to be one or the other? He had these very deep yearnings, very powerful political yearnings, very powerful spiritual yearnings. And so I understood him. I feel I got my arms around him. I also saw, this again is maybe more on the first part of the question, much of the toughest goals of his life had kind of entered his system at a fairly early age. And this too is not so widely recognized. But it comes fairly clear that at a fairly early age, in fact, there is almost, not that he's conscious of everything, but he goes to England to study law for 3 years. When he's 18, he's there for 3 years. When asked why he goes, he says, England is a great place of poets and philosophers, and one of the great places of civilization. London is a terrific city. I was very curious about London, very keen to go. All that is true. And of course, when he leaves England after 3 years, he writes on the ship, going back, some kind of diary notes he writes, and he refers to his regret at leaving dear London. But there is also a sense, a young lad who is embarking on this trip to England and is determined to go and somehow persuades his family to let him go after a terrific struggle. He's not only curious about the center of civilization, he wants to meet his future foes. He wants to get the measure of his future foes. I get that sense. This I can't prove QED, but this, I think, is a sense that I get, and I think the reader perhaps also will get. Similarly, the Hindu-Muslim question, the high caste and the untouchable question, these two are powerfully present in the adolescent young Gandhi before he goes to England to study.
Dr. Gandhi, on this note of the spirituality of your grandfather, your grandfather was separated from the transcendentalists by both time, culture, and language. What was it about Emerson and Thoreau and their writings that resonated with your grandfather and Indian society?
Undoubtedly, the fact that the transcendentalists evaluated Indian spirituality so respectfully, so highly, so clearly, played a very great part in drawing Gandhi closer to them. And you know, Gandhi was always a budding environmentalist, and the self-help and not injuring nature, those were tremendous parts of Gandhi's life right through his life. And he calls Thoreau, I forget the actual words now, about his courage in opposing the Mexican War and wanting to be ready to go to prison and all that. Gandhi was very struck by that. The courage of the man to follow his convictions no matter the cost. I think that made a tremendous impact on Gandhi. I should add, by the way, that he was also very greatly struck by somebody whose relationship to Gandhi intellectually we don't hear much about, and that is a man called Abraham Lincoln. In fact, if time permits and if I have opportunities, one of my future projects is kind of two future projects. One is to look at the Indian 1857 revolt and the American Civil War, which took place within a few years of that, together. And then, if possible, also to do some kind of comparison of Lincoln and Gandhi. And Martin Luther King has said something quite tremendous about Gandhi and Lincoln in one and the same kind of talk. So anyway, thank you for some great questions.
Today at the City Club, we've been listening to a special forum featuring Rajmohan Gandhi, author of Gandhi, the Man, His People, and the Empire. These books are for sale in the lobby, and Professor Gandhi will be signing them after today's program. Thank you, Professor Gandhi. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This program is now adjourned.